So I have my next home under contract. But what's the next step? Well, it's the home inspection, the number one reason why real estate transactions fall through. But who do I pick for my home inspector? What does the home inspector inspect and what does he not inspect? Can I attend the home inspection? How much does a typical home inspection cost? These are all really great questions to ask. And to help us answer these questions, I have an actual home inspector with us today. I'm Eric Hutchinson, and I'm the principal broker and owner of Hutchinson Realty. Welcome to episode 6 of Real Estate Talk for Northwest Arkansas. I have a couple of my colleagues with me today. Hey, friends, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we will introduce our guest.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cole Eady. I'm a realtor here with Hutchinson Realty. And me and my wife have lived here for a little over 5 years, and I've been a realtor for almost a year now.
Hey, Cole.
Hi, my name is Sandy Wellesley, and I'm an executive broker here at Hutchinson Realty. I have lived in Northwest Arkansas for 23 years now and have been a realtor for most of that time.
Welcome, Sandy. And we have a guest, which this is the first time on our podcast that we have a guest. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. So, hey, friend, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us which company you're with and where you do home inspections.
All right. I'm Levain Murphy with Nook and Cranny Home Inspection. I started the company about 11 years ago, mainly in Missouri and Kansas. In the last year and a half, though, myself and then the inspectors that work for me are licensed in Arkansas as well as Oklahoma. So we're just kind of expanding out and coming this way.
Well, welcome, Levain. Glad that you're here and looking forward to grilling you today with some questions because you're the professional and you know about home inspection. So we've got a lot of interesting things to ask you. But before we do that, as typical, we're going to go through how many houses are for sale. We talk about this every Tuesday in our sales meeting. How many houses are for sale? We look at our current inventories. So in Northwest Arkansas, we usually are talking about Benton and Washington counties. Now, in total, there's probably around 1,460 houses for sale. I think I checked yesterday, and that's what the number was. But we only look at our 5 largest towns. We look at Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, Bentonville, and Bella Vista because it just would take too long to go through every single town. We have a lot of little towns in Northwest Arkansas. So I'm going to have Cole go over that. We're only looking at houses. Isn't that right, Cole? Why don't you give us some information?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Eric. All right, everyone. We will start with Fayetteville first. There are currently 206 homes for sale right now. 90 are new. There are 116 resale. The median list price is $457,000, and the median price per square foot is $210. Next, we will do Springdale. There are currently 119 homes for sale in Springdale. 29 are new, and 90 are resale. The median list price is $459,000, and the price per square foot right now is $196. Next, we will do Rogers. Rogers has 129 homes for sale, 24 are new, and 105 are resale. The median list price is $553,000, and the price per square foot is $217. Next, we will do Bentonville. Bentonville has 199 homes for sale. They're active. 100 are new, and 99 are resale. The median list price is $477,000, and the price per square foot is $201. Finally, we will do Bella Vista. Bella Vista has 189 homes for sale. 110 are new, and 79 are resale. The median list price is $389,000, and the price per square foot is $201. And with that being said, of all of our 5 towns, there are 842 homes for sale, 353 are new, and 489 are resale. The median list price is $448,000, and the price per square foot is $205.
Thanks, Cole, for giving us that information. I'm still amazed at how low inventories we have. I remember in Bella Vista, I remember when there were about 600 houses for sale. Now, I've been in business for 26 years, so I have a lot of history, but when 600 houses for sale, and there's only 800 and some odd houses for sale total in our 5 towns. And I remember when there were, 400 or 500 houses in each town. So it's really amazing to see how low our inventories are. And it's also amazing how many new construction houses that we have compared to resale homes, almost half. So anyway, I just think that's a really interesting statistic that we've got going on in Northwest Arkansas. Well, I've asked Sandy, because if you're a buyer, you're looking to buy a house, and most buyers get a loan, and we've seen our interest rates fluctuate almost weekly. So what's going on with our interest rates, Sandy?
Well, once again, weekly fluctuation. We bumped up just a little bit this week from last. And so always be sure, if you're a buyer, that you're shopping that rate and just check back. This week, a conventional loan is available for 6.125%, anywhere from 6.125 to 6.5%. Okay. If your loan is going to be FHA, VA, or USDA, you're looking at approximately 6.375. So that's where we are this week for interest rates.
So our interest rates took a little bit of a bump up, but last week they took a bump down. And so we're seeing that fluctuation happen almost weekly. And one of the things that I mentioned in my video that I did yesterday about current inventory was that whenever you're looking for a loan, talk to, first of all, multiple lenders, because some lenders will have the same interest rate, but sometimes their closing costs are less or more. And so always get what we call a good faith estimate from your lending institution, and ask them about a little thing that we talked about this morning in our sales meeting called a float down. So a float down is a really nice tool that a lot of people don't even know about, and lenders don't normally it's not that they don't recommend, they just don't even mention it because they lose money if you go with this option. But some lenders offer this float down option where you say, okay, today's interest rates are 6.875. And you'd say, well, okay, can you cap it there? And if the interest rates go down next week or the week after, can I take advantage of that? And that's why they call it a float down, because you have a one-time float down option where you can say, I'll take it if they've been lowered to 6.3. I want that one. The only problem is that once you lock in, you're locked in with that lender and you can't change that interest rate again. But a lot of times buyers just say, well, it's 6.875 today, and that's what I've got to do. And then next week they're like, oh man, the interest rates went down. And so locking in with your lender is a really important word. Ask them about the potential of a possible float down. Another thing is the ARM, the adjustable rate mortgage, which sounds really scary, but you can do a 3, 5, 7, or 10 adjustable rate mortgage. So probably in the next 10 years, we'll see interest rates go down at least below where they are right now, which means that you can lock in, or you can do a refinancing of your home if the interest rates go down. So that's just something to think about if you're saying, man, I don't like the interest rates. There are some potentials, for change in the lending institution. So just take a look at that whenever you're talking to your lender. Well, hey, let's get into our discussion. We're kind of piggybacking on last week. We talked about home inspections, and I thought it'd be really good if we had a professional, someone who knows a whole lot more about home inspections than we do. So we've invited Levain to come in here and to give us a little bit of consulting. So I think we've got some questions for you. So I'm going to defer over here to Cole. Cole, why don't you ask a question of Levain?
Hey, Levain, just curious, how long does a typical home inspection take?
Generally, for most of our average homes, 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe 3. Of course, bigger homes are going to take longer, and we generally try to schedule per 1,000 square foot about an hour. So if we've got a 5,000 square foot, we'll usually block off about 5 hours for that. Now, if it's a really nice house and been well taken care of, it's not going to take that long. But if it's an older home and there's, you got to spend some time writing, it could take that long. So basically about an hour per 1,000 square feet.
Do you encourage the buyer to be there for the entire home inspection?
We do. They don't bother me being there at all. I've done 9,000 inspections. It's, I've seen just about every personality you can imagine. But we do encourage them to be there. A lot of times it depends on the person, their personality. You get somebody that's a driver, they don't want to be there the whole time, okay? They'll come at the end, tell me what I need to know, and I'm out of here and I've got something else to do. Somebody that's more calculated, they item by item by item, they want to be there longer, and that's fine. I do encourage them to kind of go through the house, look at things, come up with questions at the end so that they don't really affect the routine. But generally, I go over it with them at the end. One of the things I really like about them being there is that a lot of times, especially first-time home buyers, they can get excited pretty quick about anything. They've got this glossy idea that this is a house and there's nothing wrong with it, right? And they see something wrong and they're like, but it gives me an opportunity to be able to diffuse something that's not a big deal. And in their mind, they think it's a big deal, So it's great. It's great to have them there and to be able to go over things with them.
That's awesome.
Okay. I have a question for you. First of all, let me say I have a great respect for home inspectors. I'm so thankful that it doesn't fall on me, the realtor, to know the things about the house. I'm so grateful that there are home inspectors that do this job. Where do you start? Like, do you have a system in place for your homes? Do you start in a certain place? And what types of items does your inspection cover?
That's a great question. I always start outside, and I take lots of pictures. I go around the house twice. I go around the first time taking pictures of everything so that then I can always go back and I can refer to them. And then I start in a corner, I generally move from left to right. And so I establish a corner or I establish a fence line. And then from there, and then I just start moving myself around and I go up and I go down, and it's basically up and down all the way around the house. So I get a perspective. A lot of times I start when I'm still in my truck. I just pull up and all of a sudden things start to, does it have guttering? Where's water going? Is there anything that stands out to me from a distance? A lot of times a home inspector, you get too close, then you miss the big picture. And so a lot of times I like to get the big picture first, and then go around and basically go from top to bottom.
Got it. So you mentioned going up and down. Do you do attics and crawl spaces? How do you cover those areas?
I do. Attics I have to be really careful with because they've got so much insulation in them anymore. So,
Right.
You got to be really careful where you're walking. Out of 9,000 inspections, I've only fallen through a ceiling once. And it happened to be because they had some drywall on top of the ceiling joist, and I slipped and foot went right through. And luckily, it was a guy that does repair. He just laughed, and he said, I'll fix it, no big deal. So we just paid him to fix his own ceiling, But no, we get in attics. There's so much stuff to look in an attic, and there's so much stuff to look at a crawl space. And it's the place, it's the two places where most people don't go. Okay.
Right.
And so, structurally, it's really critical. I'll get in any crawl space I can fit in. A lot of times, crawl spaces don't have enough room to really move.
Right.
And they got a lot of ductwork, got a lot of plumbing. You got to be really careful when you're going around that. So, we get in all attics and crawl spaces that we can fit in.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what about the roof that's high pitch, or it's so high that you can't really get on top of it? How do you inspect that?
I expect it. I actually put my ladder up against it, and then because I want to feel it, I want to see it, even if I can't get on it. But I have to use binoculars. That's the closest way I can get to it. Is just I've got a set of binoculars that I use, and I go around and just basically go up and down the roof as I go around. Trying to look at it. There's not very many roofs I can't get on. I was on the 1212 yesterday, but it was a place where I could get up and I could go up a valley and I could safely get up there. I always tell my inspectors that work for me, I said, if you're nervous, don't go. So if it makes me nervous, then I'm not going to go. But most of the time, I can get up on most roofs. I also have a special pair of boots called Cougar Paws, and they grip a roof. And so I can still walk on most roofs.
So you're not scared of heights?
I am not actually. Actually, I'm not scared of falling either. It's that quick stop I don't like.
Right.
Do you check for mold and foundation issues?
Foundation, yes. We do. If there's mold present and it's right there, it's visible, then we do write it up. But we also put in our report that this is not a mold test. We don't know what kind. We don't know the toxicity. It's just visible. It's there. And But if they want a mold test, then we can come back and we can actually test it. So I'm certified as a mold inspector as well. So
That's awesome. Well, what about radon, septic, and termites?
okay, in Missouri and Kansas, I'm licensed and certified as a termite inspector. In Arkansas and Oklahoma, they've got different laws and different rules. So you have to actually be an applicator to be able to do that, because they've got a whole different way, and you guys understand that, of what they have to have as far as the okay for a termite inspection. So we don't do it in Arkansas and Oklahoma. The septic, we usually will schedule out unless the buyer has somebody else that they want to use, or the realtor, their buyer's agent, has somebody that they recommend. So, but we have some resources that if they want us to schedule, we can schedule somebody to do the septic. Radon, I'm the licensed and certified as a radon technician. I'm the only one in Southwest Missouri that's actually licensed out of Kansas. So Missouri doesn't have any licensing. If a home inspector in Missouri is doing an inspection in Kansas and they want radon, they hire us to go over and do the radon, because they can't do it because it's a licensed state. So so we've been doing radon for 11 years.
So whenever you see something that is of concern, but maybe you're not licensed, maybe if it's a septic thing and you're like, I smell something in the backyard and the buyer hasn't paid you to do a septic inspection, or maybe you're not licensed to do that, do you still note it on your report that, hey, appears there to be some leakage somewhere or something? I mean, how do you deal with things that you aren't licensed to do?
Yeah, generally, if there's a smell, there's usually something visual. I've only had that happen a couple of times where there was, as we went around to the backside of the house, there was a distinct odor, and it didn't take us long to find the issue. There was a broken pipe, and it was finding its way up, it's surfacing. So that's definitely a write-up, because it's right there. I want to be real careful to presume something.
Right.
But if I know it's there and I know that there's a problem and that they need to get a specialist in here, then it makes it, pretty easy for me to put that in the report.
Yeah.
One of the things that I get asked, I deal a lot with first-time home buyers, and they always want to know how much the inspection is going to cost.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, how much do y'all usually charge?
For like a common-sized house, anywhere from 100 square feet to 2,000 square feet is generally anywhere from $350 to $400. But it's all based on square footage. If the house is bigger, it's going to cost more. If it's smaller, it's not going to cost as much. And then depending on what kind of things that they add on, if they add on radon, if they add on mold testing, we also do sewer scoping. We can take videos of the sewer line going all the way out to the sewer main to make sure that there's no roots or anything like that in it. So those add-ons all, cost a little bit more. But the basic home inspection usually is around $350, $400.
So I'm curious, do you charge by square foot, or do you just charge by the house?
Square footage.
Square footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on a 3,000 square feet, how much per square foot do you charge, or can you, like if it's 3,000 square feet?
My wife does all that.
Well, at least you're honest. Thanks.
Yeah, that's an office. That's an office thing. I'm not. And she actually. We have a software that when they tell us what the square footage is, it figures it out for us, because we put all the information in. So that's why I'm kind of throwing out the three. I'm actually kind of throwing it out kind of high, 350 to 400. A lot of times they're not that much.
So sometimes they're not as much as 350. That's not like a minimum. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a minimum. That's usually about the average.
So do you find things that you say, it looks like you really need to do a scope through the sewer line, or do you ever like get into a home inspection, they haven't bought an add-on, but you're in it and you say, just letting you know that I can't get into this without the add-on, but it looks like there may be a problem, and would you want me to go forward with this or not?
Yeah, as far as it depends on what the add-on is. If we get in there and the smell of mold is just like, intoxicating, then, like it doesn't matter who walks in, they notice it. Okay. That's when we will tell them that's probably a good idea to have a mold test done, especially air quality. And if we see something, I did have one place where there was a leak that they didn't realize, and it just had it all over. And so I told them they needed a surface test on it. They needed a swab, and it come up, toxic, so, but like radon, you can't, you don't taste it, you don't smell it, you can't sense it. The only way you can do is test for it. And we recommend, because we've known people that have been affected from lung cancer that have been personal friends of ours. So we're very passionate about having every house tested for radon. We do ask our clients if they want, to have a radon test. And a lot of times they go, well, we don't really know what it is. And so that way we can explain it to them.
Yeah. Northwest Arkansas has not been, and I've been doing this for 27 years, and I can count on one hand the amount of customers that I've worked with that did a radon inspection. And most of the time it was because they had a relocation company that was requiring it or something. They just, it wasn't on their radar, And so, so we're talking about radiation that's coming up from the ground. And,
right.
And is there any way to say, well, is there any rhyme to the reason that one house might have a high radiation level or radon level and another house doesn't? Or is it a neighborhood thing, or do you know?
Well, yes and yes. It is a neighborhood thing, but it can really be anywhere. It's uranium. Uranium's putting off a half-life, and it creates radium. And then radium puts off a half-life, it creates radon gas. And so just depending, we got some hot pockets in the Joplin area, in Neosho area, where we can we'll be surprised if it's not high. It's usually more often high than not. What I'm finding and talking to realtors in the Northwest Arkansas area is that oftentimes the people that move from out of state that are familiar with radon, when they buy a house, they want a radon test, and all of a sudden it's high. And I've had a couple of agents that knew that we are, are radon certified. They've called me and said, "What do we do?" Yeah. A couple of them in Bentonville, they got a hold of me and said, who do you recommend? I don't know who to call. And so I was able to recommend somebody that could come in and take care of the radon problem for them. So I think you're going to find, and that's one of the things, I do a radon training class. And I'm really wanting to try to get into a lot of the real estate offices in the Northwest Arkansas area so that I could get really the realtors up to speed on what radon is, where it comes from, and how we deal with it. It's easy to deal with, but if you don't deal with it, it can have some consequences.
So I'm a little interested in it. So how long does it take to do a radon test? So your home inspection, you say, it usually takes, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So someone says, hey, I want the radon add-on. So you're going to be able to do that today?
Actually, yes. I generally carry a radon machine with me most of the time. Or we can actually get it. I only use professional radon monitors. I don't do any kind of test kits because they're more accurate and I can control them. I also know if they've been tampered with. I know if people have opened windows, opened doors. A test takes 48 hours. And generally, if somebody schedules a test and we've got more than 3 or 4 days, we'll come in and put it in 2 days ahead of time so that the results are done on the day of the inspection. I can download those results on that day and we can send the report and the radon report together on the same day. If I can't get in 48 hours ahead of time, then we'll put it in on the day of the inspection, and then 2 days later we'll have the report ready for them.
So if you have the machine, it still takes about 48 hours to gather.
It's 48 hours for a real estate transaction.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, anybody else?
First off, I just want to say thank you so much for coming today and spending time with us today on the podcast. It's just a blessing. Thank you. So I have 2 questions. My first question is, and I feel like just when me and my wife were buying a home up here, I would have liked to know this, but you being a home inspector, can you just tell the listeners and all of us why it's important, first off, to get a home inspection when you're looking at a home?
Sure. Basically because of experience of most home inspectors, especially in the Arkansas area, because Arkansas is a licensed state, which Missouri is not. In Missouri, anybody can hang a shingle and print out business cards and tell people they're a home inspection, and nobody knows. They've maybe not had any training. But in Arkansas, it's a whole different ballgame, which I really like. Because you've got your standards of practice that everybody goes by. So a lot of your home inspectors that have experience are basically going to be able to come out and look at a home, and things actually, believe it or not, they jump out. Things jump out that most of the time, some realtors will see it and stuff maybe jump out, depending on who they are. But usually a home buyer, they don't. Like I said, a lot of times first-time home buyers, they just think everything should be glossy. But a home inspector, things really jump out, and especially things that are not safe. Wiring is really critical, and I find a lot of wiring issues because homeowners think they're electricians, and we find a lot of that kind of stuff going on. But even in a brand new home, I did a new home for one of the agents here a couple months back, and they had the wrong size service coming into the main panel. It was too small for that size house. Mm. And it's a brand new house. So, it's that kind of thing that you go in and you're never going to take the cover off. I always take the cover off and I can see how the electrical's being wired, So that's why it's real important to have a home inspection done on it, just to have somebody just go over thoroughly. They're not going to catch everything, but they're going to really catch most of the stuff that needs to be looked at and thought over and seen what we need to do to fix it.
That's good.
My last question. So you've been a home inspector for all these years. What is the craziest thing you've ever seen before doing a home inspection?
Boy, probably the one that stands out to me the most was a lady calls us and she says, "I've got cracking all over my walls and ceiling in my living room." And so she, can you come out and take a look? And I said, "Yeah, I can come out and take a look, see what's going on." So I get there and I come in her house, and 3 of the 4 walls, I mean, we're talking the sheetrock has just got gaps in it. And then I looked on her floor and I saw that her floor had dropped about 2.5 inches from where the line was, where her trim was, or her baseboard. And I'm like, I can tell you right then what the problem is. So I said, let's go around back and see where water's going. Well, she had a big yard, and the yard was sloping right down straight to the house. There was never a place where water could go around, so every bit of water was going into her crawl space. Well, her crawl space was muddy. I got in her crawl space, and her rim joists and her floor joists and her main beam and everything was just rotted and had sunk 2.5 inches. A major, major deal. That was probably the most... and I've seen a lot of water damage, and I've seen some rotted rim joists, but we're talking 2.5 inch drop. So for her to get it fixed, and there wasn't enough room to fix it in the crawl space, you're not going to jack anything up you have to go in from the inside, tear the floor out, and fix it from the inside because there's not enough room to work underneath there. So
that's what we call a deal killer.
That's funny, because a lot of times, that term, the deal killer, I always tell people, I said, I've never killed a deal, but I've seen houses commit suicide.
Yes. Yeah.
And that would be one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Do either one of you have any more questions? Well, please tell us how people can get a hold of you. So we want to thank you for coming and being a guest on our podcast. So I'm going to allow you to plug yourself a little bit. So tell us again the name of your company. And if someone listening says, hey, I want Levain to come out and take a look at my house, how do they get a hold of you?
We've got a website. We've got also got a Facebook page, and both those things, my office, which my wife runs my office, and they can just Google Nook and Cranny Home Inspection, and they can find us. We also have we just hit over our 500 5-star reviews. So we've got quite a few 5-star reviews going. But if you hit the website, Nook and Cranny Home Inspection, you'll be able to get that. You can call 417-392-7735, and you can schedule. You can also schedule online. You can schedule through Facebook. So a lot of people use all 3 of those ways to schedule with us.
Well, thanks so much, Levain, for coming and being our guest today. Great discussion, guys. Man, hey, if you are listening today and maybe you're under contract on your next home, get a home inspection. It is highly recommended. You don't have to, it's not a law, but boy, you could be missing some real problems with a house. So call Levain or a home inspector to do a home inspection. And in Arkansas, like Levain said, the home inspector, if you're going to pay them money, they have to be licensed by the state of Arkansas, which is a good thing. Hey, you can always reach out to us at info@hutchrealty.com. That's our email address. You can go to our website at hutchrealty.com, where you can view every active listings, all those active listings that Cole was talking about at the beginning. You can also view all 23 of our agents' profiles and pick out an agent that works best with you. Hey, they are ready and willing to help, and so are we. We are all here to help you through this real estate transaction process. If you like this podcast, don't forget to leave us a positive review. Come back next week when we will continue our talk about Northwest Arkansas real estate. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.